Good evening and welcome to this week's programme. Of course, this week we have learnt yesterday of the death of His Royal Highness the Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. And as this is being covered on all the main TV channels and has been in detail for the last 24 hours, we're obviously not going to major anymore on this sad story. However, we will mention that just before the programme came on air, the details of the Duke's funeral have been released, and it will be at 3 p.m. next Saturday. And it will be a largely private event where the royal family will be complying with the COVID requirements, but obviously there will be televised so that people can watch safely from their own homes. Right, this week in All Saints Church from Monday to Friday, from 5:30 to 7 p.m. each day, there will be a book of condolence available for those who wish to come and add their name to that. And of course that will be under the usual sort of COVID secure arrangements. This week's news: Dorset Police have been called to tackle several incidents where large groups of people were causing trouble, including alongside Weymouth Harbourside. A spokesman for Weymouth and Portland Police said officers from Weymouth Neighbourhood Policing Team have attended multiple reports of antisocial behaviour across Weymouth and Portland this week. Police have been advised and dispersed larger groups of people when it has been required. The team are working closely with partner agencies to address community concerns, particularly around Weymouth Quayside, with various different options being explored. Officers have been in the area and spoken to groups in the evening with no problems of reports yesterday evening. It comes after residents around the harbour complained about drunken brawls, littering, claiming that it makes them feel trapped in their own homes. Crowds of drinkers gathered at Custom House Quay and left mess everywhere, and this was captured on film by local residents who are demanding action from the authorities to deal with the situation. South Dorset Ramblers are inviting people to join them now that they can resume organised walks. Following the relaxation of certain lockdown restrictions, Ramblers can now walk again in organised groups of up to 30 people. All walks will be COVID compliant with the required social distancing, risk assessments and contact tracing. David Price, who's the publicity officer for South Dorset Group of the Ramblers, said, "Our group is centred on Dorset, Weymouth and the surrounding areas, but our walks cover the entire county and beyond. The walks, which take place on Saturdays, Sundays and Wednesdays, range from around 5 miles distance to 12 miles. With so much emphasis on mental health and well-being, what better time to join us for a breath of fresh air and stunning scenery," says Mr. Price. If you're interested in the South Dorset Ramblers or the Ramblers in total across the country and see what they're up to, do go along to the website at www.ramblers.org.uk or call 0203 961 2332. That's 0203 961 3232. The coroner for Dorset is seeking the assistance of the public to find the next of kin of a man who has died in Weymouth. Stuart Douglas Fry, who was 66 years old, died at his home in Park Lane on Thursday the 8th of April. His death is not suspicious and there is no police investigation needed into his death. However, Coroner's Officer Sharon Emerson said, "We are not treating the death as suspicious. However, we have not been able to locate a next of kin for Mr. Fry. If any member of the public has any knowledge of his family, they're asked to contact the Coroner's Office on 01202 454 910. That's 01202 454 910. And that's anyone who has any information on the family or next of kin of Stuart Douglas Fry, who was 66 years of age, who lived in Park Lane, Weymouth. Free parking arrangements for the NHS and care workers will remain in place through to the end of June this year. NHS and care workers can continue to use any Dorset Council operated car park free of charge, provided they are on duty and displaying a relevant permit, or they have registered direct with Dorset Council. It was originally run for a limited time earlier last year, and free parking was reinstated during each lockdown period, as well as continuing through December 2020. The extension of free parking for NHS and care workers will be reviewed by councils on a monthly basis. If you are an NHS worker or a care worker, you can email parking@dorsetcouncil.gov.uk, providing your full name, evidence of your employer details, and your vehicle registration number. You'll get a response email back, and your details will then be added to their system so that you will not be issued with a penalty charge notice for your vehicle if you're parking when on duty. If you're already registered for the scheme, so you've registered last year or earlier this year, you don't need to reapply, and your details will automatically be updated and kept on the system. Whilst we're talking of parking, extra parking spaces should be available for residents of Weymouth Park District after a decision to reduce holiday accommodation permits has been made. It will mean that holiday businesses in two zones, Zone A and Zone C, will lose permit spaces for customers when they expire, with guests offered a substitute parking permit for the Swannery or Lodmore car parks. The lack of parking in the Park District has long been a problem, with the area having not enough spaces for the people who live there. Residents petitioned the council in January 2019 demanding changes, with a consultation held later in the year attracting 273 responses, the majority from residents. 1 in 5 who responded that they did not have a permit at that time. More than 3/4 of those who filled in the form said that hotels and guest houses should be excluded from the parking permit scheme, but given access to nearby car parks instead at a similar cost to the existing residence permit scheme. Around 80% of hotels and guest houses were obviously against the idea. Under the new rules, guests visiting holiday establishments will still be able to park outside the property to drop off their luggage and check in before receiving a permit and moving their vehicle to either the Swannery or Lodmore car parks. The new rules will still not give all residents a parking permit. They will be limited to 2 permits per household unless a special case can be made. Hotels and guest house owners will be classed as residents and they will have permits. Other changes include making 1-hour parking bays only available to residents between 6 p.m. and 9 a.m. Dorset Police are warning people to be aware of fraudsters after several people in Dorset fell victim to a Facebook scam. We've heard lots about scams over the last year and different scams coming out at different times, and this is another one. A spokesman for Dorset Police said we have received a number of reports of people being scammed after purchasing items over Facebook and paying for them via PayPal, which they are then not delivered. We're investigating these incidents and would urge people to remain vigilant and use trusted sellers when purchasing items online. Of course, if you've got any information or you've been affected by this, do call Dorset Police on 101 or go along to the Dorset Police website at www.dorset.police.uk where you will find information about scams and how to report them. There have been fresh concerns raised about the safety of the AstraZeneca COVID jab due to its links with rare blood clots. But what are the symptoms to watch out for? That's what we need to know. This week, the government announced that under 30s would no longer receive the vaccine due to concerns over the extremely rare side effect. And that's the important thing to say, the extremely rare side effect. In the UK, the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, the MHRA, said that there were still huge benefits for the vaccine in preventing COVID-19 and serious disease. However, due to a very small number of blood clots in younger people, that's those under 30 years of age, they will in future be offered the Pfizer or Moderna vaccination. Of course, anyone who's already had the first AstraZeneca jab should continue and have the second one. There are 8 symptoms that they want people to watch out for, and here they are. A new onset of persistent headaches, blurred vision, shortness of breath, chest pain, leg swelling, persistent abdominal pain, unusual skin bruising, and pinpoint spots behind the eyes. Of course, if you have the vaccine, you're under 30 and you get any of those symptoms, then you're asked to contact your doctor promptly or to get other medical advice promptly. Despite the concerns over the vaccine use, our Prime Minister Boris Johnson and the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency insists that jabs benefits, whatever, still outweigh the risks. A new safety app called Walk Safe, there's its logo, has been helping residents choose better routes to walk home to avoid high crime zones. The WalkSafe app, which can be downloaded onto your smartphone, alerts users when they enter high crime zones, and it has grown recently in popularity. The map with the app shows users reports of crime taken from monthly police reports in the area, including assaults, muggings, and knife crime. However, it's key to note that crime statistics alone do not tell the full story of community, and different factors will contribute to crime levels. Police forces have pointed out in the past that data about reports of crime can lack context. So the app does serve a purpose, but it's not the full story. I think that's the message. WalkSafe visualises crime reports which have been published by the police so you can plan your route home. Its Home Safe function, this is one of the functions, estimates how long it should take you to get somewhere and alerts a loved one if your journey doesn't go to plan, while TapSafe, another part of the app, allows you to send a contact your location details in an emergency. Organisers of the Bournemouth Air Festival remain confident that they will be able to host this year's event, despite 3 other summer UK air shows being grounded due to the pandemic. In the past few days, it's been announced that Southport, Sunderland and Blackpool air shows will not be taking place this year. Southport Air Show was due to take place at the beginning of July, and Sunderland towards the end of July, Blackpool at the beginning of August. Bournemouth Air Festival's director John Weaver highlighted that the event is due to take place early in September, 10 weeks after the final stage of the government's roadmap out of lockdown. Mr. Weaver said if the roadmap continues as planned, the organisation team believe the event can take place safely. Bournemouth Air Festival is due to take place from September the 2nd to the 5th, and it would attract hundreds of thousands of people to the area. At present, though, none of the display teams have been announced for this year's event. And finally, in our headlines, local charity MV Freedom are hoping that their new boat will arrive in town this week. The charity is planning to start their weekday trips again as soon as possible. And the trustees have also decided that out of respect and admiration for NHS staff, that they're going to invite them from whatever role they undertake out on some free trips. It also applies to other professional carers, and that's from the Weymouth, Portland and Dorchester areas only. And it's thought that these trips will give them the opportunity for a bit of rest and recuperation with a cruise along the Jurassic Coast this summer, totally free of charge. That's obviously while funds and vacancies on the trips permit. The charity has already booked over 1,100 bookings for the new boat when it gets here, but vacancies are still available through to the end of the season on the 31st of October. If you're interested in making a booking for the regular trips, or you are a member of the NHS that falls into that category and would like a free cruise, do give their booking number a call, and it's a mobile number. It's 07974 266 867. That's 07974 266 867. We're hoping from White Regis TV to be there when the boat arrives, to be able to film its arrival and to bring you that story in next week's programme, or if it's later than this week, in a future week's programme. So that's our headlines tonight. Now turning to our first main story this evening. It was 125 years ago, from the 6th to the 15th of April, so right in the middle of that period of time, that the first modern Summer Olympic Games were held in Athens. The original Olympics were banned by the Roman Emperor Theodosius in either 393 or 426 AD. So this week is our first report is from Janet Hall, is looking at the Olympic Games.
The first ancient Olympic Games took place almost 2,800 years ago in the town of Olympia. They grew and continued to be played every 4 years for nearly 1,200 years. In 393 BC, the Roman Emperor Theodosius I, a Christian, abolished the games because of their pagan influences. A modified revival of the Olympian Games, the Olympic Games, were inaugurated in the spring of 1896. Planning for the Games had begun in 1894 with the founding of the International Olympic Committee. They enlisted the aid of sports organisations and individuals of various countries, chiefly European at first, and the committee drafted policy and selected Athens, Greece, as the site of their first Olympic Games. It attracted athletes from the United States, Great Britain, and 11 other nations. There were only 42 events, and 9 sports were scheduled for these games. The Olympic Games scheduled for Berlin in 1916 were cancelled because of World War I, and those scheduled for 1940 and 1944 were cancelled because of World War II. Nowadays, there is an elaborate ceremony to open the Olympic Games. The athletes parade into the stadium, led by the Greek team, in honour of the founding of the Olympic Games, with the host nation marching in last. The Olympic hymn is then played and the official Olympic flag. 5 interlocking rings on a white background is raised. A runner then enters the stadium bearing the Olympic torch, initially lit by rays of the sun at Olympia, Greece, and carried to the present site by a relay of runners. The ceremony closes with the release of doves, symbolising the spirit of the Games. During the Games, medal ceremonies are held to honour the medal winners in each event. First, second and third place finishers stand on a podium and receive gold, silver and bronze medals respectively. Flags from the athletes' countries are raised and the national anthem of the country of the gold medalist is played. An elaborate closing ceremony ends all the games. American James Connolly was the first Olympic champion of the modern games, winning the triple jump. Over the years, the Olympics have become more and more successful, and each country who is hosting them tries to outdo the previous with greater achievements. The archer lighting the Olympic cauldron at the start of Barcelona 1992 Games left an incredible mark. Beijing in 2008 and London in 2012 set new heights for sporting success. And now, following Rio, it is the turn of Tokyo, with the event delayed a year because of the pandemic. But now the Summer Games have been scheduled to run from July the 24th to August the 18th this year. So we all look forward to supporting our team once more. Bye for now.
So there we go, the modern Olympic Games, and I'm sure, like most people, you'll have some interest in some of the games, starting on the 24th of July this year, and we'll be able to see how our own athletes get on. And I'm always particularly interested in the water events and the sailing, with a number of the athletes actually practicing in the area. So thank you to that, Janet. Businesses in White Regis and the wider Weymouth and Portland have had a difficult time over the last 12 months. Of course, lots of people have had a different time for lots of different reasons, but businesses have been hit financially with the coronavirus pandemic, and many of them being unable to trade. Good news is for some of those businesses, as we hit the 12th of April, that they will be able to reopen and hopefully reopen and stay open, and we won't get any further lockdowns with the vaccination and the government route map seeming to be working well. So earlier today, I met up with Craig Oakes, who is the president of Weymouth and Portland Chamber of Commerce, to get an idea on how local businesses have been affected and what the future holds for our local businesses in Weymouth and Portland. So, hi Craig, thank you very much for joining me today to talk about the Chamber of Commerce from Weymouth and Portland. So, I guess first of all for our viewers, what is the Chamber of Commerce and what is it all about?
Okay, Gary. Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me on to White TV today. The Chamber of Commerce is generally an organisation that is there to help and support businesses in the local area. Obviously, we have a town Chamber of Commerce based around Weymouth and Portland, and we have members that are all generally business owners or who operate businesses or run businesses, and our ethos in general is to make the economy of our local area better, which in turn can then help with training, skills and education all the way down the line.
And I guess, Craig, over the last 12 months, the pandemic, that businesses in Weymouth and Portland have suffered quite badly. Can you tell us how businesses have fared in Weymouth and Portland over the last 12 months?
Well, it's as you say. I mean, obviously it's national pandemic, yeah. So obviously, the knock-on effect is it goes down to every single area. Our local area has obviously seen it since roughly this time last year when it started, and the original knock-on effect was obviously businesses having to close immediately in March, and obviously. People were very, very worried. They were panicking. They didn't really know what the situation was, and I think that was apparent everywhere. But as people realised what was happening, and the government stepped in to help with things like furlough, things like grants, things like loans, and you know, before we go into it, we know that everybody wasn't covered, but you know, obviously financial assistance was given to shore things up. I think as things went along, the first lockdown was very, very sort of difficult in some ways to people, but people sort of accepted that there was nothing else that they could do. And as you go through the year, I think businesses have just, you know, adapted to things amazingly, considering what happened. Came down to after Christmas, and the last lockdown I think was particularly hard for people, being in the winter time, and mental health was involved with that side of things with business as well, where you know, it was just very hard to deal with. Being a seaside town, tourism, we don't have the visitors in this area. They're not allowed here anyway due to COVID. It has been a real hard storm, but you know, on the whole, in this area, we've been extremely lucky.
So what sort of future do you think there are for the businesses of Weymouth and Portland as we come out of the pandemic, the vaccinations are in place, and we're coming into the summer months and hopefully things are getting a bit brighter?
I feel a buzz at the moment. I mean, I was walking around yesterday, I was walking around the town, and I've just got that in my mind at the moment, that I feel that there's more of an exuberance and an optimism and an anticipation from people of just a really great year bouncing back out of this. And it is a bit of a cliche to say we're bouncing back or we're on the road to recovery and all those sort of things. But there's just a better feeling, like you say, Gary, with the vaccine. It seems to be that people are more confident to get out and do things, and certainly from the business point of view, I think they're just looking forward to a bumpy year of, you know, obviously with the roadmap that we've been given. If we're in the position on the 21st of June that the restrictions are lifted, I think people will just take advantage of that, and you know, staycations, or for want of a better word, I think staycations has been put up to be the wrong possible word, but people visiting within the UK is going to help us immensely, especially down here in Weymouth and Portland.
Okay, so looks really good ahead, and hopefully we'll get lots of visitors for our businesses that rely on the tourist industry. So what finally is your message for the people of Weymouth and Portland, whether it's our local councillors, the local residents, about our local businesses?
I think we've just got to look back at the situation that we've been in over the last year and look around, particularly in this area, people that have just worked together. I think we live in an area where everybody sort of knows everybody. It's quite a tight knit, close area, and I think looking back, I think on the whole, most people have looked to their neighbour, made sure they're okay. And again, that's with businesses. Look to your neighbour. Look to make sure the shop next door to you is okay. When you go in the morning, say hello to them. If we have that sort of attitude moving forward, working together, then I don't think we can lose in this situation.
So there you have it. That's Craig Oakes from the Weymouth and Portland Chamber of Commerce, the organisation representing businesses of Weymouth and Portland. So there we go. Thank you very much to Craig for speaking to me this morning. I'm sorry about the road noise there. It was rather quiet when we started, but then we did get rather a few vehicles going up and down. And I guess the most important message from Craig and from the local businesses is now is the time to rally behind your local businesses and support them. They've had a tough time, and things will pick up and get better if we get behind them and support them, because they do provide very valuable employment for the town. Now, our third story tonight, I'm asking you to think back to this time at the beginning of April, back in 2012. And to think, sorry, not in 2012, into 1912, and to think what happened. Well, yes, I'm sure all of us know a historic event happened, and it'll be very familiar to most of you, and that is the sinking of the Titanic. So we're back to Janet again, who has been looking at the sinking of the Titanic back 125 years or so ago.
The launch of the Titanic in May 1911 was the peak of Belfast's golden age of shipbuilding. It was the largest man-made object ever to have taken to the seas. Harland and Wolff employed thousands of men, with over 15,000 working on the Titanic. Many jobs involved working with steel, including welders, riveters, platers and plumbers. Carpenters worked with wood to design things like cabinets and staircases, while architects designed the ship in their offices. 2 rockets were fired to signal the launch of Titanic, but there was no big ceremony that we're used to seeing nowadays. It took Harland and Wolff around 3 years to finish the ship, but only 62 seconds for it to slide off the slipway and into the water. There were 2,200 people on board the Titanic on its maiden voyage, 1,300 passengers and 900 crew. The ship wasn't full and could have had another 1,100 people on board. It was a luxurious ship and tickets were expensive. A third-class ticket cost around £7 in 1912, which is nearly £800 in today's money. A second-class ticket cost £13 or nearly £1,500, and a first-class ticket would have set you back a minimum of £30 or more like £3,300 today. The Titanic sank in the early hours of April the 15th, 1912. More than 1,500 lost their lives in the disaster. Its story has inspired countless books, articles and films, including the 1997 film Titanic, starring Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio. The ship's story has entered the public consciousness as a cautionary tale about human mistakes. A little more than an hour after contact with the iceberg, a largely disorganised and haphazard evacuation began, with the lowering of the first lifeboat. The craft was designed to hold 65 people. It left with only 28 on board. Tragically, this was to be the norm. Nearly every lifeboat would be launched, woefully underfilled, some with only a handful of passengers. The Titanic sank with over 1,000 passengers and crew still on board. Almost all of those who jumped or fell into the water drowned, or died within minutes due to the effects of the cold and shock. RMS Carpathia arrived about an hour and a half after the sinking and rescued all of the survivors by 9:15 on the 15th of April, some 9.5 hours after the collision. The disaster shocked the world and caused widespread outrage over the lack of lifeboats, lax regulations, and the unequal treatment of the 3 passenger classes during the evacuation. Subsequent inquiries recommended sweeping changes to maritime regulations, leading to the establishment in 1914 of the International Convention for the Safety of Life at Sea. One of the best-loved stories about the Titanic is the orchestra, which is said to have kept playing as the ship sank. The 8-member band, led by Wallace Hartley, had assembled in the first-class lounge in an effort to keep passengers calm and upbeat. Later they moved to the forward half of the boat deck, and the band continued playing even when it became apparent that the ship was going to sink and all members perished. This memorial was erected in Belfast to commemorate the lives lost in the sinking of the Titanic. It was funded by contributions from the public, shipyard workers and victims' families, and was dedicated in June 1920. But I think the best memorial to the sinking of the Titanic is the safety that we now enjoy when we take a trip on board a ship. Bye for now.
Thank you very much, Janet. And of course, the sinking of the Titanic was 109 years ago this week. I got rather through when I looked down at my notes and it said that the Titanic sank on the 15th of April 2012. And I thought that can't be right. So I had to work out in my head what it was, and that just totally threw me. So yeah, it was sunk on the 15th of April 1912, which was 109 years ago. So thank you, Janet, for that. So let's see what the National Weather Forecast has in store for us this weekend.
Hello. A cold weekend to come across the UK with widespread overnight frosts and some wintry showers, but there'll also be sunny spells in many places during Saturday and into Sunday. Temperatures well below average for the time of year, 7 to 9 degrees typically, and it will feel cold in the wind, but with some clear spells across central and western parts of the country. We're going to see another widespread frost on Saturday night. There'll be further showers, again of a wintry nature across central parts of England. They'll tend to fizzle out by the end of the night, and further showers as well coming into northern and eastern parts of the UK by Sunday morning. Another widespread frost expected, with many places going a few degrees below freezing by the start of Sunday. A frosty start then, but plenty of sunshine during the morning. Long spells of sunshine remain into the afternoon, and most of the showers easing across central and western areas, but there'll continue to be some showers into the north and the east, and once again these will be of a mixed nature, rain, sleet and snow possible. 1 or 2 showers breaking out elsewhere, but also there'll be long spells of sunshine. It will feel cold on Sunday with highs of 7 to 9 degrees.
There we go, that's the National Weather Forecast. And on a local basis, there are chances of showers tomorrow and Monday. And as the week goes ahead, the risk of showers disappears and the days will be mainly warmer. Let's put the weather. There we go, there's the weather widget up. They will be warmer, but still a bit chilly, with top temperatures only getting to 9 or 10 degrees centigrade. But hopefully some very nice sunny spells and not too bad a week ahead, taking us through to next weekend. Looking at the traffic and travel this week, not too much going on this week. Scottish and Southern are working on Wyke Road until the 14th of April, where there will be two-way traffic control, so maybe some disruption there. And Dorset Council are working on Chickerell Road by Budmouth College, and it's possible to have delays there as well. On the trains, not too much this weekend, with a bus replacement service between Southampton Airport Parkway and Bournemouth today and tomorrow, but nothing during the coming week. Looking at what's on, just a reminder to look at the Know That Fort website. They are opening on the 12th in line with the government restrictions being lifted. And this will include the museum, shop and cafe. There's an Easter egg hunt for the family. They're asking you to look for the unique golden egg and to count to the Easter bunnies. So some good outdoor fun there at the Noth Fort. They're hoping to be opened at the internal areas from the 17th of May. Also, the outdoor areas of Weymouth Sea Life Centre are open from Monday as well. You can go and see the penguins and the seals and the otters and the interactive rock pool. And as we know, Weymouth Pavilion will start to host some of their shows from Friday the 21st of May. So do look at their website and make some early bookings, because I think once things start to open up, then bookings will disappear fast. We've had a year with not a lot going on, so I think people will be taking advantage of our activities, our shows, the cinema, and all those sorts of things when they open up again. When I come to the movie that we're going to feature this week, and this week's movie feature is Disney's Jungle Cruise. Inspired by the famous Disneyland theme park ride, Disney's Jungle Cruise is an adventure-filled Amazon jungle expedition starring Dwayne Johnson as the charismatic riverboat captain and Emily Blunt as a determined explorer on a research mission. It's the early 20th century, and Dr. Lily Houghton, played by Emily Blunt, is to navigate the jungle rivers to locate a legendary healing tree of life. Little do they realise the perils they will face from the jungle. The UK release date is set for July, but this is early notice and a chance to see the trailer of Disney's Jungle Cruise.
So what are you doing out here?
There is a legend in the jungles of the Amazon of a tree that heals all. It could change the world, but if it gets into the wrong hands, it could awaken a great evil. I believe that the legend is real.
Which it's not.
And I'm going to find it.
Which you won't.
And when I do, just imagine the lives that could be saved.
I've been looking for this tree longer than anybody. I've tracked the legend to every village, every island. Nothing. You're searching for something that can't be found.
But you've never had the key.
Let's do something that's safe. Let's go see some elephants.
There are no elephants in the Amazon, and I don't even like elephants.
Lady, everybody likes elephants. Know this about the jungle. Everything that you see wants to kill you, and can. Careful. They could smell fear.
I am not afraid. Oh my gosh.
Who brings a submarine to the Amazon?
Feuer!
Good night. I got you.
Frank, get it.
Hold on.
Come on.
I got it.
Frank.
I don't got it.
No. For goodness sake, just leave me alone. That was a disaster.
Didn't go the way I planned.
There we go. That's Disney's Jungle Cruise, which should be out in July. Something to look forward to. Looks a bit Indiana Jones-ish, and I like the older Indiana Jones type movies. So, just a reminder of some of the things that is coming up. This evening, don't forget, we have our quiz at 7:30, which you'll all be very welcome to join. Tomorrow morning, All Saints Church is got a service at 9:30. That'll also be live streamed in St Edmund's Church at 11 a.m. Before I give the final information, I'm just going to also play for you the latest government information film on COVID and keeping safe from the 12th of April, and then I'll come back just with some final information before we finish this evening. So this is the latest government information film.
We've all learnt a lot over the year about how to reduce the spread of COVID-19, and everyone has worked hard to get coronavirus cases down. So, as restrictions start to ease and we can see friends and family again, it's important that we stick to the rules and stay outside. An infected person releases particles into the air by coughing, talking, or simply breathing. The closer you are, the greater the risk of breathing in infected particles. Letting in fresh air by opening a window can help disperse COVID particles. However, outdoors, the risk of infection is significantly lower. Fresh air dilutes the virus particles and can blow them away. You also have more space to physically distance. The closer you are, the greater the risk of breathing them in. Remember that 1 in 3 people with coronavirus have no symptoms whatsoever. You can't tell who has it, and they could spread it without knowing. Help keep the virus levels down, and let's take this next step safely. Stay outside when you're with people not in your household or bubble. Hands, face, space, and fresh air.
There we go, that's the latest government information film with some very useful information, asking us all to continue to keep ourselves safe, but to take advantage of being able to meet with people outside. Now, finally, just returning to our first headline tonight, the death of His Royal Highness the Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh. On Wednesday this week at 10:30, there will be a communion service in All Saints Church, but it will be following the suggested order of service for such on occasion. It's going to be led by the Reverend Betty Port, but Betty wants me to make people aware that it's not going to be a mournful service. It's going to be more of a celebration of the life of the Duke of Edinburgh, but it will follow the form of words that is set for such an occasion. So that's a Holy Communion service in All Saints Church, 10:30 on Wednesday, remembering the Duke of Edinburgh. And as I mentioned throughout the programme, at the start of the programme, there will be a book of condolence available for the people of White Regis in All Saints Church from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Monday to Friday this coming week. Please do wear your masks. We'll provide pens and make sure that they're cleaned, and please do keep your distance. But it will give you the opportunity, if you wish to record your name in a book of condolence, to come and do that at White Regis this week. So I'm going to say good evening and good night, and hopefully see some of you in the quiz in a while. And I will be back here 6 o'clock next week. And tonight, rather than our usual jingle, I'm just going to leave you with a picture of the Duke of Edinburgh. So good night.